Well, good morning, America, and welcome to the crazy show that is American government or lack thereof. And something caught my eye this morning, which is totally laughable and very bizarre, but is part of the process, and that is yet another Trump executive order on the Smithsonian targeting the funding for improper ideology. Here we go, the rewriting of history, touched on this morning by the madman in the White House and the fanatics uh, hiding in the shadows in back of him. Adam Gabat in The Guardian, one of my great sources for proper information, along with The Independent and DW and France 24 and Sky News and LBC. He has an article uh, which says that J.D. Vance is to lead a plan. As Trump says, there's been a concerted effort to rewrite history, to rewrite U.S. history with a distorted narrative. Very bizarre. What they're doing is projecting everything that they're doing onto the rest of us, inverting the circumstances, as it were, which is a total and complete lie. It's bizarre. It's dangerous because, again, it relates to freedom of information and the proper use of governmental powers.
Democracy depends on a free press. Please support our independent journalism at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We turn now to someone who has a deep understanding of the stakes of the Trump administration's assault on education and history.
So here it goes. I'll read from it. Donald Trump has ordered an overhaul to the Smithsonian Institution, claiming he will eliminate improper, divisive, or anti-American ideology from the world's largest museum, education, and research complex. In an executive order issued on Thursday, the president said that there has been a concerted and widespread effort over the past decade to rewrite U.S. history by replacing objective facts with a distorted narrative driven by ideology rather than truth. Precisely what he and his administration are doing. It's bizarre. In psychiatric terms, it would be a transference, of the inner workings of the sick human being onto the psychiatrist or others. And this is what's taking place. The order directs J.D. Vance, the vice president, to remove improper ideology from the Smithsonian, museums, education, and research centers, and the National Zoo. And as we all know, the National Zoo is a hotbed of enemy agents and disinformation. The elephants there are undercover agents of a foreign power or an internal power opposed to Donald Trump's policies. The monkeys, well, they just talk too much. And as far as other exhibits go, we can't rely on the bones in the Smithsonian from prehistoric creatures being reliable. So we know it needs overhaul. There's no doubt about it. The question is, how far is Mr. Trump going to go? Well, under this historical revision, our nation's unparalleled legacy of advancing liberty, individual rights, and human happiness is reconstructed as inherently racist, sexist, oppressive, or otherwise irredeemably flawed, the president said. I wonder what prompter he was reading off, because he's an absolute freaking moron. Trump's order pointed to an exhibit at the American Art Museum titled The Shape of Power, Stories of Race and American Sculpture. Now, whether you agree or you don't agree with exhibits is an open question. That they should exist, that information should be accurate and free, at least from the perspective of the one producing it, is unquestioned.
So they say they're targeting critical race theory. Critical race theory is the study of the practices that keep racial inequalities present, that are hangovers from Jim Crow. The institution and for example, things like mortgage redlining, school segregation, housing segregation, policing practices that were formed when cities were intentionally segregated. So they're targeting Black history, they're targeting minority history, and they're trying to replace it explicitly with patriotic education. Now, just imagine your cartoon vision of an authoritarian country. Imagine 1984. It's a country, the George Orwell's book. It's a country where students pledge allegiance to the flag every day. It's a country where instead of knowledge and learning, they're taught to be, they're indoctrinated. Now, this will be done supposedly under the banner of classical education. The idea is we're going to restore classical education to end wokeness. But let's look at classical education. Classical education is an education that is whose foundational elements are the works of the ancient philosophers and ancient history, like Thucydides, Plato, and Aristotle. Plato advocated removing children from their family at birth. In Plato's Symposium, it's normal to have relations between older male professors and their younger male students. So the idea that classical education is there to promote Christianity and the nuclear family is simply just delusional. And it's, as usual with this attack on schools and higher education, it's merely an ideological facade for replacing critical inquiry with, saluting the flag.
Reading further, which is what I'm bound to do this morning, Trump said the exhibit, quote, claims that the United States has used race to establish and maintain systems of power, privilege, and disenfranchisement. Well, I didn't go far beyond slavery to say that there's absolutely no untruth in that. The Jim Crow laws and everything we've had to do to redress the balance in what has been an appalling part of U.S. history. He added that the exhibit, and I quote again, promotes the view that race is not a biological reality but a social construct. Trump complained that the exhibit uses the phrase, race is a human invention. Well, he goes beyond that. He doesn't end there. Trump also appears to suggest that the Confederate era names and statues, many of which have been removed in recent years, could be reissued to parks and memorials. So all the Johnny Reb rebels and traitors of the South should be resurrected along with all of their flags and massively neo-Nazi ideas. So there we have it. I could read further, but I think that covers as much of this as I can possibly cover. But remember, this all links up. What does it link up to? That is a good question. It's all part of the Nazi playbook, isn't it? Information or disinformation controls people's knowledge and their appetite to know the facts, to learn the facts. And he who controls information, unlike the idea of Woody Allen that it's tuna fish that does this, information controls the world. It's not merely information, of course. The other tests at the edges are the judicial system, the use of Congress as a battering ram submitted to the will of one man and the shadowy figures in back of him. But this is absolute Nazism. It's just like Germany. In 1932, 1933, Hitler came to power, and just the same way that Trump has come to power from November 5th, 2024. Only Trump got 77 million fucking voters to put him into the White House, while Adolf Hitler only had 37% of the vote. But the aims are the same: propaganda, disinformation, using the Justice Department as a ministry of justice, using the FBI as a substitute for brown shirts, but not for secret police, SS, and Gestapo. And this is going to get a lot worse. Today's article is bizarre and funny, but the aims in back of it are absolutely unreal, ugly, and maybe irredeemable.